Well, I grew up in rural South Carolina, and I grew up in an unhappy home. I did have my mom and my daddy, but my mother was very unhappy. She was a Connecticut Yankee. She was a Catholic. She grew up in the city, and Daddy took her to rural South Carolina, and there was nothing there. The railroad tracks went down the middle, and there was a road that crossed it, and Uncle Pharaoh had a store. One of them old stores, you know, they had the barrel with the pickles in it, stuff like that. And right behind it was the church. And my great-grandfather had donated all that land for the church. And then right across the street from it was the high school and the grammar school. And my daddy went to that high school, and I went to that high school, and my son went to that high school. Now they finally tore it down. But we had Mama was not very happy at all. And it's true that if Mama's not happy, nobody's happy. But she had 5 kids, and she was not a mother. She was not meant to be a mother. And every one of us, there was a problem with every one of us. And we almost died, and she almost died. She shouldn't have had any of us. And my brother and my sister were born in comas. And my sister, she got okay, but my brother, he wound up with cerebral palsy, and then later on he got polio. And he's the one who died since we've been here in Georgia, on this side of Georgia. He was living over there in Kingsland with me. And in the old country, my mother's father and mother were both from Poland, or Czechoslovakia, really, but they claimed to be Polish. And a child that's born with defects is a curse. So my mother never accepted Bobby, and she was very unhappy about that. Not only did she have kids and living in this place, but she was a very unhappy woman because she had a curse, and Bobby had to stay home with her. And so he was a godsend because he really got along really well. He took care of her very well. He got to the point where he was about a 12 or 13-year-old, but he could do things and take care of her and everything, you know. But she didn't look at it that way. And I was the oldest of the 5 kids, and so I was kind of neglected a lot because Mama held it against me that I started the children train going, so she didn't like that. And Dad's family did not like her at all because she was a Yankee and she was a Catholic. And she just didn't fit in. So she was there by herself. And Daddy had to sign us papers saying that all of us would be raised as Catholics when they got married. And Mama held him to that. So Daddy, there was a little Catholic, I guess you'd call it a satellite church in the next town. And so Daddy would take us over there for the services. Mama very rarely went, but we had to go to the Catholic church, and that was the only way that Mama would let him take us to his church, which was the little Methodist church right there. And so we went to church every time the church opened. And when I was about 8 years old, Daddy got saved, and his life changed completely. It was. I was only about 8 years old, and I I knew it. Whatever it was with the church. And whatever it was noticeable. And you could see the little Taylor children, all 5 of us, lined up in a row on the pew, even to Janet, when Janet was like a year old, sitting in her little seat, and then when she got out of it, nobody played with books, nobody swung their feet, nobody wrote on anything. We all sat there real nice. Now Bobby, the one with the cerebral palsy, he would not behave himself. So about every Sunday, Daddy took him outside, underneath the bush, right outside underneath the window, and give him his lickings. Well, the windows were always open, and even when they weren't open, you could hear it. So Bobby got his lickings, and then he came and sat down and behaved himself. But Daddy was very involved in the church and everything and all like that. And then in rural South Carolina, everybody got married real early. We cleaned out the 9th grade and 10th grade. And everybody got married. Then we started out with 40-some people in the 9th grade, and when we went to graduation, there was only 6 left. So I got married to the guy next door, and the only reason why he married me was because in their house was a tradition that the boy had to get married before he was 21. And of course he had to have a virgin. So he picked me. I was the closest thing. And I was just his whipping post while he went out and did his thing. And I endured as long as I could. He beat me all the time. And I even had an emotional breakdown. I just didn't feel or do anything, you know. I just took the beatings and that was it. But one day he was swinging me around by the hair, and Steve came out from behind the couch and said, "Mama." And when he saw Steve come out and I said, move, Steve, he let me go and picked up Steve. Steve was about 4, and started beating on him just like he'd been beating on me. Well, there's no way that child could put up with what he'd been doing to me. So I knew I had to leave. So I tricked him, and I managed to get out of there. And so I wound up having 2 lawyers bought from underneath me and everything, because my father-in-law had money and a lot of pull. So I moved to Florida so that I could get it out of the civil court, because the judge he was my daddy's first cousin, and he was my father-in-law's first cousin. But he was fishing buddies with my father-in-law. I had no chance. So when I went to Florida, I was living in Daytona, and I met Skip. And I got hurt on the job, and the day that I got hurt on the job, it started all this mess with me. It was the day that I was going on a date with Skip. And
don't forget to tell him your husband had already been killed in a car wreck.
How about what?
Your husband that you divorced got killed in a car wreck.
I couldn't hear you.
I said, don't forget to tell him that your husband who got killed in the car wreck before.
Oh, yeah. And Johnny got killed in a car wreck and chasing a cop. He was gonna get the cop to chase him out, and all of his cousins and everybody was weighing down in the ditch waiting to shoot the cop. And he wound up hitting a car head on because he didn't have his headlights on. And so anyway, he got killed. So that's how I got rid of him. And well, y'all, he'd be standing on the side. He'd be standing on the side of the road with the shotgun, following me everywhere I went. So I had to be careful. Anyway, Skip and I, after about 6 months, Skip and I got married, and Steve was about 10 by this time. And oh my gosh, He was a holy terror. He caused us all kinds of problems. He rebelled like crazy. And so our marriage was terrible. I wanted to leave him and he wanted to leave me. Every time he'd start to leave me, his daddy would come there because he was working for his dad. So I couldn't leave. And every time I was going to leave, or he was going to leave me, my mom and daddy were coming to visit. So he couldn't leave. So we kept going this way for 3 years. So we never did get to leave each other. And then when we finally did decide to mutually go, then Steve fell on his knees and begged us not to go. He finally said, well, he didn't want us to go. So I knew by this time, I knew I needed to get saved. I had been looking for it. I got baptized 8 times trying to get saved because I knew my daddy. I knew what he had, and I needed it. And so I got the woman, the Campus Crusade people were there, and I got Sharon Hamill. I went to 4 T's, and we went through the 4 spiritual laws, and I didn't get saved. God didn't open my eyes. And I'd go home crying, why didn't it happen? But Sharon sat there with me one-on-one, and God opened my eyes and my heart, and I got saved. And I had never known peace. And it was like a chain that was around my body and my heart, and just the chain broke and fell off. And I finally knew peace. That's when it happened for me. Well, that was on January the 2nd, 1978. So Sharon said, well, you got to go tell Skip. And I said, oh. Skip likes to play head games with me, and he's real good at it. And I can't tell him. He's evil. I can't tell him. And so anyway, it'd been about 2 weeks, and she and her husband, Jeff, told me, well, you got to tell him. So I told him. Sure enough, a week later, I'm in the hospital with a pinched nerve, paralyzed on my right side. And I went through all kinds of terrible tests and everything and all. But the day that I came home from the hospital, I had Jeff meet him and take him down to the orange orchard, and he led him to the Lord. And he didn't have a chance because there was 40 couples praying for him that morning. All of them sitting there, a whole Campus Crusade praying for him. And then, let's see what else I'm going to tell you. Well, anyway, that was how it was. And the day that he got saved was the day I got pregnant with Jessica. And the one thing that we had always thought about is he wanted me to have a baby. And I knew having babies when things are going that bad is not a good thing. And so anyway, I got pregnant with Jessica. And it was rocky, there things, because Steve didn't exactly behave himself. But anyway, so we've been through all kinds of stuff. And through Bible college and through seminary. My sister was killed. We've been through all kinds of rough stuff. But it's been great because God has been with us the whole time. And my health has gotten worse and everything, but it's okay because he's been with me the whole time. And I can truly say that God is good. He really is. And as Paul said, in my weakness, he's strong.